And there, welcome. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Along with Debbie Georgiani, I am Jerry Usher. We're going to spend the next almost an hour together, and we're going to present something that has been on our hearts, and maybe you'll be able to resonate with it and help your fellow listeners, because this is a community, an on-air radio community, really a family. And so we rely on you and your takes, your experiences, which we can also, might also want to say is your expertise. We are all experts at life in some respect. And today, Debbie, we're going to talk about adversity and how we have all overcome different adversities in our lives. And so, dear friends, we want to hear if there's been something in your life. Maybe it could be something big like the loss of a job, a child born with a disability, a marital issue. It could be something maybe not so big, like you were driving one day, your car broke down, you didn't know how you were going to get to an appointment or get to work or get home. But big or small, we want to hear how you overcame some adversity in your life and teach and inspire all of us. What do you think, Deb?
I think it's going to be a very, very enlightening show, so I'm looking forward to it. Here's the number, 1-800-585-9396. That's to get onto the show. We're talking about overcoming adversity today. We actually titled the show, I Weathered the Storm. Now, think about that for a moment. These topics we plan out and pray about several weeks, months in advance. We did not at all predict or anticipate Hurricane Harvey, not at all. But there's no accident to that, because we really believe that the Holy Spirit drives so many of the topics here on Take Two. So given that, I just want to reiterate again that there are ways for you to pray, obviously pray for the victims of Hurricane Harvey, but also if you want to financially help them, because the Knights of Columbus is doing a great job getting in there and making sure that the victims of the hurricane are having the necessary funds to just even survive, not even to rebuild yet. So if you can be part of the special fund that the Knights of Columbus has set up for the hurricane victims, please go to KOFC.org. That's KOFC.org. That stands for the Knights of Columbus, and they are just amazing. Jerry, I just have to say, I've been watching the news reports, and my heart is just breaking for everybody that's going through. I mean, this hit them so quickly, and you just look at the faces of people leaving their homes and their belongings. And we're talking today about overcoming adversity, and I'm having such even a difficult time watching the news reports, because the news people are just sticking the microphones and cameras in these shell-shocked faces of people, and it's like, my goodness, they don't even know what to say, how to even develop the words to even express what's going on inside of them. And my heart is just breaking. But to know that the Knights of Columbus is doing such great work to try and help, that really does bring us a sense of peace, I think.
Yeah, perhaps you are living in an area of Texas. We are broadcast on Guadalupe Radio and other stations. Maybe you're in the midst of the adversity right now and you don't know quite how you're going to deal with it, but maybe you have already experienced some sense of fellowship and outreach and support. Love to hear from you, 800-585-9396. But wherever you are, life is full of, just like nature brings us storms, life brings us storms as well. Some of them are rockier than others, some blow harder than others in our lives, and we have to weather them. We have to get through them. So how have you done that? 1-800-585-9396. And Debbie, I just want to say, this is to take nothing away from any other aid organization, because there are a lot of groups, Red Cross, I'm sure, and many others, who are collecting money for hurricane relief right now. But I would say, folks, if you want to make sure, this is the Knights of Columbus. I'm a fourth-degree Knight. Debbie, your husband is. Dear friends, the Knights of Columbus give away millions, tens, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars every year. This is a Catholic fraternal organization. You know that your money given through, not to, but through the Knights of Columbus is going to be put to the absolute maximum use here to help the people, the victims of this. Not that those other groups don't, but there's always bureaucracy and salaries and red tape and stuff like this, and I'm sure there's a little bit of that. Knights have to cover their expenses, but I can just assure you that you're really maximizing your gift through the night. So again, I echo what Debbie said. Go to KOFC.org. Okay.
Jerry, I was thinking about this topic today of overcoming adversity, and you just put out there asking our listeners to call in and share how they were able to get through it, and what techniques or tools did you rely on to help you through the storm, if you will. I also want to know too, how has it changed you? And the reason why I say that is because I've been through, unfortunately, a lot of distressing times in my own life, and it's changed me dramatically for the better. And I just want to know how it's changed you. So if you call in, think about that as a second question as well, just because we want to learn and we want to grow, and obviously we want to get closer to God. And so if it's changed you for the better, like I know it's done for me, then we want to hear about that. 1-800-585-9396.
Yeah, we actually had a listener some time back, Debbie, you may remember, email us. He had written a book. I believe his name was John, and he had written a book. Maybe he's even listening right now. His family had lost everything in a fire, and his book was all about how even he had this sense of peace. There was definitely adversity, but how so many people rallied around them, and how he just saw God's hand working through the storm, the clouds, in this case, the fire, the adversity. So, yeah, how have you been changed? What kind of did you see the body of Christ come through and help you during your adversity? What was your experience like? Again, it's 1-800-585-9396. Everyone's experienced it, so share, educate, and inspire with your take today.
Yeah, and you're probably not going to be able to share your entire story, but just really highlight the points that we can kind of identify with and lean on, and we can start to incorporate those in our own life. And so keep that in mind when you're sharing your story, because I know that, if you had asked me to share it, Jerry, I'd be here for 10 hours, so I can't do that. But you got to give like the Reader's Digest version, and we can really benefit from it. So this is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. This is your show. Don't sit this out. Call in at 1-800-585-9396.
Hi, I'm Doug Keck. I'm here with author Michaeline Friedenberg. We just finished doing an interview on her new book, Grief and Abortion, Creating a Safe Place to Heal. What's this book about, Michaeline?
Well, this book is specifically for those individuals who want to help somebody who's been impacted by abortion. And so it's going to give them an idea of what someone goes through, what the grieving process looks like, what the healing process looks like, and how they can be the most effective in helping them.
So is this for people then who want to get involved with that kind of post-abortive healing with others?
It's actually more for those leaders who already are in contact with people who may be hurting, and so they're not going to become an expert in the area, but they want to be able to, at least in those initial contact, be able to effectively help them and then be able to make an appropriate referral.
Very good. Michaeline Friedenberg. We'll look for the entire interview, Grief and Abortion, Creating a Safe Place to Heal, available through the EWTN Religious Catalog at EWTNRC.com.
Being part of EWTN Media Missionaries is a perfect way to help us fulfill our calling from Christ to make disciples of all nations. Visit EWTNmissionaries.com and join us in sharing the eternal word with the world.
We know you like listening to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio, but have you thought about bringing them to your next event? No matter what type of event you're hosting, parish mission, conference, or retreat, trust Jerry and Debbie to make it come alive. Begin the process today of taking your presentation to the next level of success. For information on booking Jerry and Debbie, visit take2show.com, click on the J&D logo.
This is Cy Kellett, host of Catholic Answers Live.
This is Jeanette DeMello, host of Register Radio.
This is Bishop Robert Barron of the Archdiocese of Los Angeles. Thanks for listening to EWTN Radio.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio and our affiliates. And I am at one of our affiliates. Debbie is at home in Phoenix, and I am at Spirit Catholic Radio Network in Omaha, and they broadcast in Lincoln. and Grand Island and all throughout Nebraska and parts of Iowa. And I want to thank Jim Carroll and Mark Voris, their engineer, and their entire staff for accommodating me here, and all of our folks, Rich and Matt and Jeff at EWTN, for helping to make sure the connection is secure. And today we're talking about overcoming adversity. Barbara, we're going to get to you in just a second. Here's the phone number again, 1-800-585-9396. I'm even thinking, Debbie, dear friends, you could call in and share, maybe like me. I was 10 years out of high school when I felt the call to discern the priesthood. I went back and I went to college. I had gone to college once, and halfway through the semester realized, hey, this isn't the right time for this, so I just kind of stopped going to classes. But when I went back to college 10 years later, that was adversity for me, because I thought, how am I going to hit the books again? How am I going to survive the academic environment? So, folks, it doesn't have to be a disaster that you've been through. It could just be some kind of situation in your life that made you have to kind of flex your muscles and push through an adverse situation. 1-800-585-9396.
Well, and I just want to share too, though, Jerry, because thinking about overcoming adversity, I mean, before I turned 30 years old, I got the diagnosis of thyroid cancer. And so that was a pretty intense storm that I was encountering, especially since I had a little 4-year-old little boy who I was like, wow, am I going to be able to be here for him? So that was a big thing, but it built character in me. I mean, it gave me a very empathetic nature, and I was able to grow in that area. And then, of course, going through the divorce and post-divorce situation that I'm currently even still in. It's you talk about, I think I've been in the storm so long, I don't even know what it's like outside of the storm. But the thing that I've walked away with is this incredible, keen sense of what others are feeling and enduring. And I've been able to I guess learn that, if you will, and it's really a blessing. I never would have been able to have learned that. I mean, I've thought I've always was sympathetic to people and compassionate with people, but I didn't really quite understand the depth of some people's sorrow, but I do now. And so that to me was a gift that's come out of it. And I don't know if anybody else can relate to that, but if you can, please call in 1-800-585-9396.
All right, as promised, we're going to go to Barbara in Portland, Maine, beautiful part of the country, listening on Sirius XM 130 to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Barbara. Thanks. You called in right away, so you get to go first today. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Great. How are you? First-time caller, long-time listener. Great show.
Wow. Great to have you.
So I want to just say that in the darkest days of my life, after my husband died, I had, 2 teenage girls. And it was so dark, I had a rosary bead that I never took out of my dresser. And laying in bed, I took out that rosary bead, and I got to tell you that was the source of my strength every night. And without that rosary bead, I don't know where I would be. It just kept me focused, kept me near and dear to Jesus and Mary and all the people who really are with you in your life. I mean, we're going to be alone someday, somewhere, somehow. I mean, but we're really not. And if you realize that, then you really have everything. So that's all I wanted to share. So I am hoping and praying these people, maybe we can hand out rosary beads. They're in such a dire situation in Texas that despair is beyond. I had my home. These people don't even have their homes.
Right.
They need a lot of faith. They need a lot of love, and hopefully Jesus can help them. And he can if they let him, and that's what I have to say. So,
Barbara, may we have your husband's name? We'd love to add him to it. We pray for the living and for the deceased. We'd love to have your husband's first name so we could add him into the book.
He was Robert. Great guy. Yeah,
I'm sure he is. A great guy.
Just had a granddaughter, and she has his smile, so there he is, living through her.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Barbara, I definitely can identify with what you're saying, because when I just shared right before your call that I had cancer when I was actually 29, and I went into my first surgery. I had 2 surgeries back to back, 4 days apart, and I grabbed my rosary and I clutched it in my hands. And for those doctors and nurses out there, I guess apparently you can't have things that aren't sterile, if you will, in the operating room. But for some reason, this rosary that was clutched in my hand went into that operating room and came out of the operating room in the same position. I don't know if the nurse took it out and put it back into my hand. I have no idea. But I totally can relate to that, Barbara, because as I was being wheeled away, I thought to myself, okay, Lord, it's me and you and the Blessed Mother, and let's go. And it's so true. It keeps us grounded and connected, and it keeps us focused. I love how you use the word focused. And I agree with you completely. And we have rosaries all around us, and yet so many of us, we know we have them, but we don't necessarily hold on to them or use them. What do you think?
Yes, I think that's true. So pick up a rosary and pray, and you will see your life turn around.
Yeah, Barbara, I'm glad you shared that. And as you were talking, for whatever reason, I don't know why, the Holy Spirit maybe it's just me, what popped into my mind was the Battle of Lepanto in 1571 when Pope Pius V sent out the Christian fleet against the Ottomans, predominantly Muslim fleet, totally outnumbered the Christians were. And Pope Pius V said, go out with the rosary as your primary weapon. And the Christians won that naval battle, which would have greatly changed the course of Western civilization had that outcome not come about. So, Barbara, thank you so much for reminding us of the power of the rosary. We appreciate that so much. I try and pray one every day. I don't succeed every day. Sometimes I pray it in chunks. Debbie, if I have errands to run, I'll get a decade in on the way to the store and a decade in on the way to the post office and kind of piece it together. But Barbara, bless you in Portland, Maine. Thanks so much for calling Take Two.
Thank you, Barbara. Thanks for being a first-time caller as well. Don't be a stranger. Yeah, call us again. Thank you for that. Okay, Casey in Louisiana, listening on EWTN.com. Hi, Casey. Welcome to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Casey.
Good. How are y'all doing?
We're doing well. How are you doing? Are you out of the storms, or are the storms hitting you where you're at?
Well, I am. We're almost out of it. We're on the southwest Louisiana, so they're making our way towards y'all now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, but we're good.
You're safe.
In our prayers.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So, look, y'all are talking about overcoming, and I just wanted to share my little story. My mom, she has cancer. She has ovarian cancer. And if it wasn't for a community that was filled with the love of Christ, then I would have never known the power of prayer and the need for sticking with it. I'm the only child, and the fear of separation from my mom is just unbearable. So I know that there is no beating this battle, and it's only time that's saving us with chemo. So I just know that, like, with my church community and my brothers and my sisters in Christ, they have shown me that I'm not alone. And, like, whenever I've been to the cancer treatment center, I would get just emails or texts saying, hey, we're not with you physically, but we're with you spiritually. And, it's touched me so much to even know that they say rosaries for my mom and for myself. So it's overcoming the loneliness.
Mm-hmm. Well, Casey, first off, do you feel comfortable sharing your mom's first name? We would love to pray for her as well. Okay.
Yeah, her name is Pamela.
Pamela. Okay. Well, we've all, I'm sure, read about and heard about, I believe, isn't it Gilda Radner had ovarian cancer? I think so. She was on, what was it, Saturday Night Live, Jerry?
Right,
yeah. And so we know how devastating that particular cancer can be. And so please, we're asking all the Take Two family, hold up Pamela, give her that spiritual strength through your prayers. Please do that, Take Two family. And Casey, you're right. Prayer does hold us up. It does keep us with a sense of hope, and it gives us a purpose, because otherwise we're kind of just spinning in the midst of so many of these things. And I'm so grateful to you that you call, because by you sharing your personal experience of what you're and how prayer has impacted you, that's going to help others to rely on prayer rather than making it like a third or fourth or fifth choice. And so I thank you for that. I'm grateful that you called in today, and our hearts go out to you, because we want you to have many years with your mom on this earth.
Thank y'all so much.
All right, Casey, thank you so much for. Yeah, we got a lot of prayers for Pamela going up right now, and I can speak from experience on that. I have a bookkeeper now for my business, but the gal that I had before that, dear longtime friend, loved her so very, very much, so very good to me and a great friend. She ended up passing from ovarian cancer, but she had it, and then it was treated, and it was in remission for quite some time, thanks be to God. But I just want to say, I saw during her illness, and I say this to encourage everybody, Debbie. I saw some people who would visit her every day, and some people even that she worked with didn't go by her. She was, eventually at home because of the illness. And some people you would think, would have paid more attention and been more solicitous, for whatever reason. I'm not judging them, but didn't go to show that support. And so we know that adversity prepares us, and I think changes our hearts so that we are more compassionate. But I just I really want to exhort everyone today who's listening. If you know someone who is sick, if you know someone who's going through a difficult time, please stop. Take a few minutes and reach out to them. It doesn't take that much time, but it makes such a huge difference. We get caught up in our lives. We get caught up in our worlds. I don't have time. I really wish I could. I'm thinking about them. Prayer is awesome, but that personal presence makes such a huge difference. So please make a conscious, intentional effort, if you know of somebody who's in a difficult situation, to reach out and go visit them and just be the presence of Christ in their lives. I just wanted to share that.
Thank you for saying that, Jerry, because it can get very lonely when you're going through an illness, and you kind of expect those people to show up, and then when they don't, it's devastating. It's pretty, it's devastating.
Yeah,
so thank you for saying that. Yeah. Well, thank you again, Casey, and prayers are ready. I just got a text message as Jerry was speaking that they're praying for Pamela. So, see, this is the power of prayer, and this is what we need and we want. And this is a conversation we're having here today on Take Two, Overcoming Adversity.
Which, by the way, Deb, forgive me for interrupting,
sure.
I just wanted to plug tomorrow's show.
Oh, that's
because,
right.
Dear listeners, tomorrow we're gonna revisit a topic that we've had before, and that is, who are you praying for? So tomorrow you get to call in to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and express to the entire world on this program what your prayer intentions are. If it's a person, if it's an intention of some other kind, we're gonna allow you to offer whatever prayer intentions you want, and we'll take time at the end of the show to pray for all of them. That's on tomorrow's show. So sorry about that, Deb, but
it's like speed praying.
Yeah, right.
I love it. That's going to be just a fabulous show. Okay, so Dwayne, you've been waiting so patiently in, I guess it's Alberta, Canada?
Looks like it, yeah.
Sirius XM 130. Hi, Dwayne. Are you in Canada, Dwayne?
Hello, yeah.
Hello, how are you?
Not too bad. I'm actually working, so I wasn't sure how long I could be on the line before you guys got to me.
Well, glad we did.
Pardon?
I'm glad we did.
Yeah. You were talking about adversity and stuff, and I guess mine started right off from birth. I was 2 months premature, so I spent 2 months in an incubator, and then I've had to struggle to get anywhere all my life. And I've usually had people say, no, you can't do that, no, you can't do that. But I had a teacher tell me I couldn't get to university, I wouldn't make it. So now I've got 2 university degrees and a college degree because I had enough faith in the future to just go ahead and try.
That's beautiful. You know, sometimes I think being told that we can't do things is a motivation for really inspiring us to actually accomplish those things. And Dwayne, there's no question that God, you know, obviously his permissive will allowed you to be that premature, a couple months premature. You spent that time in the incubator. Obviously, you weren't really conscious of what was going on at that time, but maybe looking back on that or knowing that you had that experience, I mean, at the beginning of your life, of course, outside the womb, you were in the womb, you were conceived already, but the very beginning of your life on this earth was filled with adversity. And so, Debbie, I know you want to comment on this, and Dwayne, you can go ahead and hang up. You've got to get back to work. If you can hang on through the break, go ahead, but you can hear that music there. We're going to get right back. And then Linda and Joseph, Carol, Gina, talking about overcoming adversity today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. More thoughts on what Dwayne just shared with us here in just a minute. Glad you're with us. Stay around.
EWTN News Nightly with Lauren Ashburn.
If you're a Catholic and you're watching cable news or network news, you're getting your news on the internet, how often do you read Catholic-based stories? Not that often. Here at News Nightly, you can get the national news with a Catholic perspective, and it is so valuable for Catholics to be able to see the world through that perspective.
EWTN News Nightly with Lauren Ashburn. Weekdays at 9 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Dr. Ray Guarendi.
Manners aren't just for kids. How do you ask nice? What's the magic word? Parents put a lot of effort into teaching manners, and that's good. Manners is a great first impression. Unfortunately, kids don't use them all the time. Why do we get lazy with manners as we get older? Especially with those closest to us. Your spouse. Your mother. Okay, your mother-in-law. How often do you say please? Guys, did you just say, hey, give me a cup of coffee, would you? Oh, yeah, it's nice because you put it in a question. How about, please, could you get me a cup of coffee? Manners show dignity in relationships. I will treat you with etiquette, which translates so often into respect.
Listeners to Catholic radio, I think, benefit most, at least initially, from what I call remedial catechesis. What Catholic radio does is it becomes an echo chamber for the teaching authority of the Catholic Church. And what we're doing is teaching many things which have been neglected over the last 40, 50 years. If you listen to Catholic radio, you know what the Catholic Church teaches.
Al Cresta thinks Catholic radio is important. So should you. EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Well, I'm learning so much from your calls today, so thank you for that. If you want to get in, please dial 1-800-585-9396. This is your show, Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you. Dwayne, thanks for holding. I know you're still on. It looks like you're still on the line, and I know you
I'm still here listening because I'm listening onto my headset with my phone. So while I'm walking around.
Okay. Well, can I share something real quick about premature babies? I just have to share this because I have a lot of friends who had premature babies. Dwayne, I believe in my heart of hearts that there's something very unique and special about babies that have to really fight to stay alive and to thrive. And so in you, at a very early age, was built this great capacity to be resilient, to purge through things, and to overcome all those hurdles. And so when you were told no, Dwayne, I mean, look at what you did. You just went back to the character that was built when you were a baby, to just keep plugging along, keep moving along. And I just think that is awesome. I think that tells so much about your character, Dwayne. I just had to say that. What do you think?
I grew up in a foster home. And I think if I'd have stayed with my parents and my real family, I wouldn't be talking to you. I'd be either an alcoholic or I'd be a drug abuser or who knows where I would have ended up. But I think by God's grace, the first three of us ended up in the same foster home. I ended up there for a reason.
Sure. So you've learned a lot from a very early age.
Oh yeah. I was never well liked in school. I had to struggle to do things, and I ended up having to do a lot of things for myself. There was no choice. I had to.
Well, and Dwayne, I really want to have your call and what you're sharing be an encouragement, especially if there are parents listening or, young people listening right now. You might be thinking, I don't know if I can overcome these things. I'm not accepted. Maybe I'm not the one chosen for the sports team in PE at school, or my grades aren't that great. Or, my family situation isn't like my friends or my neighbors across the fence or whatever. Let Dwayne be an inspiration to all of you. You know what we need to do? God can use all of those things to really shape us into being amazing people. Dwayne, you sound like a really great man who has probably inspired a lot of people in your life. You've just inspired all of our listeners in the whole world, anyone who listens to this broadcast. So thank you for sharing that, and let us all really take encouragement from Dwayne's, what he shared, Debbie. I really have myself.
Absolutely. Way to go, Dwayne. Yeah, you definitely touched our hearts today with your story. Thank you for that. Now you can go back to work. Go ahead. Okay, so next up is Linda in Iowa, listening online. Hi, Linda. Thanks for waiting. I think Linda, you got our Virtual Patience Award. Aren't you excited?
I'm not, well, to be honest with you, I don't call in ever. I'm not even really sure why I called in today. So it's everything I can do to just not hang up the phone. Anyways, the reason I called in is because I watch these shocked people in Texas, and they have that same look in their eye that my children had when we told them that their dad was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. And I just want to give them hope. My husband in 2013 was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. It's a cancer that kills over the course of 4 years. You eventually end up with bone cancer, and you die a very painful, horrible death. I'm an ICU nurse. I've seen this happen to maybe a dozen people. And when those words from my friend Dan were whispered in my ear that Alan had a positive bone marrow biopsy, my heart was crushed because I love my husband. But this happened at a time, probably the low in my life was probably the lowest in our marriage. And I realized in hindsight that God did this to draw me closer to Him again. And we have 4 children. At the time, our oldest son had just graduated from high school. He wasn't even sure what he wanted to do. We basically took him to the local college kicking and screaming because there was a band scholarship available to him that was almost a full ride, and we told him, you're either going to get a full-time job or you're going to go to college. You decide. And then, of course, this diagnosis happened, and, he really, at that time, became a man well before his time, because he was assigned to basically running the household. We were homeschoolers. I put my 17-year-old into the school system in Oskaloosa. It's a tiny town, maybe 10,000 people. The school system had never seen one of our kids before. They were very open. They embraced us. They would call us, ask how Josiah and Anthony were doing, my 2 younger children. They were homeschooled kind of hit or miss as the treatment went on. Our church family came, scrubbed our house, helped us fix things that were broken that had to be fixed before Alan could come home from a bone marrow transplant. Friends from work would come down with food. When I ran out of, I didn't have time to cook, and I ran out of food for John to be able to just throw in the oven and cook, they brought hundreds of dollars worth of groceries to me. I mean, these people just held me up, not just in prayer, but their hands were there.
Right.
And I would have people, my work is in Des Moines, and so I drive an hour and a half to Des Moines. They would drive an hour and a half down. These weren't like neighbors. These were like people from work of every faith, of every color, of every size and shape. And they would bring food. They would clean the house for me. They would, kind of call the kids and see how they were doing. Our neighbors who are Methodists and invite us to many church things, they would watch over the little ones. If they saw them outside too much, they would go over and say, did your mom really want you outside playing all day? Or does she want you doing your schoolwork so when she calls tonight you can tell her all the schoolwork you got done? I mean, like, these people didn't sign up for homeschooling. Right. And they just held me up in prayer. I had nurses at the ICU. I just was having such a down day. I felt so alone. They pulled me into an empty room. They laid hands on me. They prayed. They gave praise for me. They held Alan and I up. We're Catholic. They're Protestant. They don't care, And I just have to say, for me, it opened my eyes to the human family that I lived in. That was, gay, straight, Protestant, Catholic, black, white, Muslim. They all prayed for me.
Linda, let me ask you something. You mentioned that. Where is your husband right now? I mean, we certainly want to join all of the Take Two family in the prayer. So, what can we pray for specifically right now?
Well, to be honest, we did the Our Lady on Doer of Knots. You have to know that multiple myeloma is 100% fatal. He's been in remission for 4 years. And so our prayer just said he continues in remission. But we know that God has us in his hands. Wow. And so we hope the remission continues. We were able to get a Catholic radio station started in Little Oskaloosa because of, he didn't feel well, so he couldn't really do a lot of things. But he could work on the computers down at the radio station and keep the radio up.
And his name is Alan. Did you say Alan? Linda? Yeah. Did you say Alan, Linda? His name is Alan.
Yeah, Alan. His name's Alan.
Okay.
And so we just really just keep on going. And what I want you to pray for, what I ask you to pray for, is all of those people who are struggling with this cancer that don't have that faith. I knew where to turn because of my Catholic faith. I knew who would help us, who could help us when I was all alone. And I never felt alone, but I just think of all those flood people. They just look like Auschwitz children. They're just in shock. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just hold them up.
Yeah.
And I don't somehow.
And the answer is the faith, Linda. You're pointing right exactly at what the answer is, and we need to be doing the corporal works of mercy, absolutely, but also the spiritual works of mercy, Debbie, and that is not only just feeding people, but really trying to help them to see who the ultimate helper is in Houston right now and in Linda's situation with Alan, and for no matter what it is that we're going through in life.
Well, the interesting thing about the conversation that we're having, and Linda, thank you so much for your story, and we're going to continue to join with everyone else around you in praying the rosary, because you did the Lady on Doer of Knots, so we're going to pray the rosary as well to continue that Alan has continued strength and is in remission for many, 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 many years. Okay, so many years, too many to count. So we're going to keep praying that. But Jerry, every doctor that I've ever visited, behind closed doors, every single one, some were Christian, some were Catholic, they would say to me that their patients that had a strong faith life did better in general. This is what they would tell me behind closed doors. Now, they probably wouldn't say it publicly, maybe, but behind closed doors, they told me that. And they would always tap in and ask me, do you have a strong faith? And I would always follow up with, well, why? Why do you want to know? And then they'd say, because those that have a strong faith, they heal better, they do better, they just can cope better. So I think that goes along with what Linda's saying, and the fact that Linda was also saying too that humanity just when we step up in a beautiful way, it really does lift people up, and we can carry people through our prayers. And that's important. So thank you, Linda, and God bless you. Many blessings to your radio station. What a wonderful story.
Yeah, thank you, Linda, for the call to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Joseph, let me just remind our listeners of a way to listen, and that is by podcasting. Dear friends, if you have a mobile device, your phone, your tablet, what have you, you can point it right at a particular web address, and it will download the podcast automatically onto your device, so you can listen to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, or really any EWTN program when you want to, when it's convenient for you. Just go to EWTN.com/podcast and check that out today. All right, Joseph, you definitely have been patient as well, and we welcome you next in Twin Peaks, California, to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Hi, Joseph. Welcome.
Hello. How are you?
Doing okay, Joseph. Appreciate your participation in our show today.
Yeah, I just wanted to, ask for some support from your prayer group. I've been married 21 years to my beautiful, lovely wife, who's a convert Catholic, and we have 5 teenage boys and a 9-year-old girl who actually turned 10 2 weeks ago. But the good Lord took her home to heaven on March 19th. So we have fresh wounds. Mm-hmm. And today is, obviously a topic of overcoming adversity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Joseph, was this something sudden, or were you able to plan for her passing?
No, absolutely not. I mean, she had myasthenia gravis, which is an autoimmune and neurological disease. Okay. And we were treating her for, petit mole seizures and stuff. I mean, she had issues, but no.
No, you weren't.
God just took her in an instant. Yeah. Her heart stopped, and our life changed. And now, our faith is, and prayer from support from the our Catholic community, I think, is the only way that my wife and I are going to be able to do this for our boys.
Right. Well, just a couple things I want to just quickly share with you, Joseph. First of all, you're in the very raw stages of the grieving process, and so you're reaching out for these prayers. Please know that you have a worldwide Take Two family that is now going to hold up you and your wife and your teenage boys and your daughter. If you're able to impart to us her first name, we would want to add her to the prayer book. But before you do, let me just share this. She passed on March 19th. I believe that's St. Joseph's Day.
Feast of St. Joseph.
Feast of St. Joseph. And Joseph, your name is Joseph, okay? So what I would just encourage you to do is hunker down with the saints. Ask them to be around your family. Ask St. Joseph to be there. Ask your guardian angels of you, your wife, and your children to be there around your family. You guys need a lot of comfort from heaven right now. You need that, and you can tap into that. So the best important thing to do is to remember that you have that source there, and for you and your wife to draw closer together, because a lot of times a death of a child can really create a lot of other issues that come about later on. And that's the last thing that your daughter would have wanted for you and your family. Your daughter wants your family to be close and connected. So you can do that with the help of the angels and the saints. And all of us, we're praying here on earth for you. So do you feel comfortable sharing her first name, Joseph?
I feel comfortable sharing my whole family with you. My beautiful wife, her name is Shauna, and my oldest son, who's 20, is Anthony. Abraham is 19. Jeremiah is 18. Justin is 16. Alexander is 13. And my beautiful God's new saint in heaven is Sienna Marie Smith.
Beautiful.
Sienna Marie. Yeah, Joseph, I just can't add anything to what Debbie said. I'm glad, Debbie, you caught that insight. And Joseph, you may have already made that connection of March 19th being your feast day and mine as well. My middle name is Joseph. So I'm going to promise you, Joseph, as all of our
My
listeners
first
are already...
novena was to him.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I have a great devotion to him, and before I put my head on the pillow tonight, Joseph, I'm going to ask that great and often very silent and hidden saint to manifest his awesome power, which Christ, his earthly Son, shares with him, in your life and with your family. We'll promise you that, Joseph. Okay, so appreciate the call, Joseph. Yeah, a lot of prayers.
You, Joseph.
Be strong. Have good faith, and definitely let us know, how you're doing. Call the show again anytime. And
please.
For those of you who are on hold right now, we're going to get to as many of you as we can. But again, tomorrow's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie is all about prayer intentions. Who are you praying for? So get those lined up, get them ready, and be sure you call in. So if we don't get to you today, please be sure and call back tomorrow if you've got a specific prayer intention. But Carol, we're going to go over to you next, listening on the Station of the Cross in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Hi, Carol. You're up next on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine, thank you.
Good.
I'm calling in. This topic of adversity really touched me, especially the first caller. I related a lot. 2.5 years ago, we were woken up by a police trooper came to our door to tell us our oldest daughter was killed in a car accident very suddenly, and she died instantly and on impact, a head-on collision. And I did not think I would be able to survive it at all. I instantly related to Mary, thought about how it was for her watching her son suffer and die and be crucified, and how much more horrible that was for her. And I couldn't even think of the words. I wanted to say the rosary. I couldn't think of the words. I just said Hail Mary over and over again. Just Hail Mary, Hail Mary. All through the nights, the first several weeks, just till I fell asleep. Eventually I was able to get through the rosary, and I said as many as I needed to get through the night. And relating to her suffering just helped me just to get through mine. And then additionally, Catholic radio has just been a lifesaver for me. I still listen to it every day. I start my day with it. I listen to it all day long as much as I can. And there's always people calling in with people who've lost children, and I love what everyone has to say and the advice of the Catholic Church and how to deal with suffering. And it has given me the strength to get through the day and to get out of bed each morning. And I am very grateful for it.
Well, Carol, as you're talking, I'm reminded of a song that I knew by a singer named Bonnie Knopf. This was many years ago, and I'm trying to remember the name of the song, but it said, "When there are no words, Spirit, speak for me." And that's, I think it's drawn from that passage. I think it's in the book of Romans. When we don't have the words or don't know what to say, the Spirit makes utterance for us. And I think it's beautiful what you said. You weren't even able to recite a whole Hail Mary, but you just got those two words out: Hail Mary, Hail Mary, Hail Mary. And even if you hadn't said those two words, the pain in your heart and the Holy Spirit's presence in your heart and in your life would have been making intercession and was making intercession on behalf of you and your family for all of the suffering that you were going through. And so you have taught a lesson to all of us, I think, Debbie, she has, that sometimes we feel like we have to say the right things or have the right words. And if we're trying to comfort somebody who's going through suffering, say some magical phrase or word or something that is going to make things better. But sometimes it's just like, God, I don't have anything, but you've got to understand. And of course he does. And she mentioned the example of the Virgin Mary as well.
Yeah, you identified with the suffering that Mary endured, Carol. As you were speaking, Carol, my heart. I wish we were in same physical location, because I would give you a really strong hug, because my heart goes out to you. I can't even imagine that feeling. I can just probably speak for all the other parents out there when our children are out there driving, and they end up going out there to work or to school, and they get in a car. It's one of the biggest nightmares that I'm sure all parents think of, and that actually happened to you, and so I just want to say from my heart to yours as another parent, I can't even imagine the sorrow you felt when you saw those troopers on your doorstep. I can't even imagine, but the absolute beautiful thing is that you reached to the core of your being and attached yourself to Mary, and that, I think, was your saving grace through it all, because you did that. You reached out, and you're right. Catholic radio is a lifeline to so many people. That's why Jerry and I spend every single breath that we have in us going out there trying to raise the necessary funds for Catholic radio. That's exactly the reason, because it is a lifeline for people. So thank you.
I also had another, a much smaller adversity I had to deal with. I have 4 children, and that was my oldest I lost, and my youngest is 17 now, and a year ago she wanted to learn how to drive. And in my head, I did not want her to learn how to drive.
Yeah.
But my husband really pushed for it, and I knew in my heart that I shouldn't hold her back. And she is driving, and she has been driving for a year, and she's a very good driver. But I have to learn to trust in God to get through that fear. I don't want to live in fear every day of my life that my other 3 children are going to die. But it is constantly there, much more than ever before. But I do have to, I say the prayer, Jesus, I trust in you, Jesus, I trust in you, Jesus, I trust in you.
Right.
All throughout the day whenever I feel panic coming on. And it does calm me and get me through.
Yeah, Carol, that's what I do all day long. I mean, if people ever heard how many times I say it, they would think I have like a serious obsessive compulsive disorder problem or something, because I do. But that's how often we all need to say it, because it's a exercise in trust continuously. So I'm right with you, Carol. Carol, are you able to impart your daughter's first name? We would really love to add her to our book.
Yes, Jennifer Ann, and tomorrow's her birthday.
Oh, okay.
No, she would have been 30.
That's my daughter-in-law's name, Jennifer Ann. So I will always remember Jennifer Ann in my prayers.
Yeah.
Carol, we love you. Thank you. You have a beautiful heart, and you are a fabulous mother.
Yeah, and we're going to pray that the heavenly celebration of her birthday is just a joyous occasion among all the angels and saints tomorrow. Carol, thank you so much. Gina and Dee and Nancy and Julie, please, this is the time of the show every day that we just hate because there are calls left that we can't get to. But listen, if you have a chance to call tomorrow, the show is all about prayer intentions. Who are you praying for? Anybody can call. Prayers for yourself, prayers for a spouse, family member, some intention, looking for a job, a health, financial situation. We want to field your prayer intentions tomorrow. And if you don't have a chance to call, Gina and Dee and Nancy, we're going to have someone write. We're writing down your names and what you have called in with about right now. And we'll lead off. We'll mention those on the air tomorrow.
Right.
I just want to mention real quickly that we had a post on Facebook from Janice in Houston. She says, "Thank you for promoting our distress. God bless our state and your ministry and the Knights of Columbus." So Janice again, and everybody, please send your donation to help Harvey victims at KOFC.org, the Knights of Columbus.
And I want to correct something really quickly. I don't actually pray for remission of things. I pray for full healing. Okay, God, we have a big God. We have a grand God. Pray for full healing for everyone and everything. Okay, so I just wanted to stress that. Until tomorrow, have a beautiful and blessed day.